So Michael Saylor, the king of Bitcoin, he's always talking about how Bitcoin's going to save the world. It's the best thing under the sun. It's going to bring people out of poverty. It's going to create millionaires. It's going to create generational wealth. Well, we're going to dissect that opinion in this video. So let's get into it.
As I studied it, it became clear to me that it's the highest value use of intermittent energy. It's the highest value use of renewable energy. It's the highest value use of wasted or stranded energy. And it's just the highest value use of energy, period. And it's a solution to developing power plants in remote locations. It's a solution to driving up efficiency of plants and driving down cost. And it's a solution to solving any kind of challenging energy problem. And I think as the world understands it, they're going to embrace it. I think Bitcoin is the most efficient use of energy that the human race has yet come up with. I looked at the annual report of Google, and Google puts about $170 or $180 billion of energy into their business to create $1.8 trillion of an asset. Bitcoin puts $4 billion of energy and capital investment to create an $800 billion asset. So Bitcoin, you put in $1, you get out $200. Google, you put in $1, you get out $10.
So what he's saying is that Bitcoin is the solution to make energy more efficient. And I don't know about you, but I don't really see how those two things correlate. Sure, it uses a lot of energy, but how does that correlate to making power plants more efficient? Are people going to be forced to make power plants more efficient? I don't know if that's necessarily how it works. I think they're just going to use the best available option to them that's the cheapest. Then he goes on to say that Bitcoin is the most efficient use of energy that humanity has ever made. And he says that for Google, you put in $1 of energy and you get $10 out. But in Bitcoin, you put $1 of energy in and you get $200 out. So I don't know if he's alluding to the fact that a Bitcoin miner can put in $1's worth of energy and get $200 of Bitcoin out of it. It's not exactly how that works. They get out a certain percentage of Bitcoin, and depending on the price of it at the current time, that's how much money they are earning for Bitcoin mining. But the thing with Google is you're investing money into their company and they are making revenue from that money. They're investing it into their own business and making money, which then returns to you. Bitcoin, you put in money to mine Bitcoin, and the only thing you're getting is the value of the Bitcoin. If Bitcoin is worthless, then your Bitcoin that you mined is worthless. You're not making any money. And Bitcoin is not an efficient use of energy. Just the mining of Bitcoin across the world uses more energy than some countries. So I'm not really sure what Michael Saylor is saying or if he's just talking out of his ass.
And so Bitcoin is conservation of energy. You can store your life force in fiat, and you know you're going to lose 1% to 2% a month. You might lose 4% a month in a collapsing currency or faster. You can store all of your economic energy in credit, and that's not much better. You can store it in equity, but then you take the risk of a company, and you never know when. Like, look what just happened to AMC yesterday, right?
Right.
If you're going to store your money in AMC or Viacom or Bitcoin, at least Bitcoin has no CEO to print 10 million more Bitcoin overnight, whereas that might happen with an equity. So when we talk about an escape hatch, if you're looking for a safe haven, I see Bitcoin as the most secure, most reliable, most certain thing in the entire economic universe. And if you're looking for some place where you can store your life force or your economic energy, you know, there's no real question, right? Bitcoin, you can store it and take it with you wherever you want, or you can put it in land in a state subject to a governor, a mayor, a country, or you can put it on the stock exchange and you can worry about what the CEO or the board of directors will do the next day.
So then Mr. Saylor says you can put your money into stocks, or you can put it into real estate, or you could put it into Bitcoin, and then he compares all three of them. But he says the benefit to Bitcoin is that Bitcoin doesn't have a CEO that can come out and print 10,000 more Bitcoin overnight. And by doing this, he compares it to AMC, the epitome of a meme stock, because they printed 10,000 more shares of AMC overnight, basically. And if he's going to compare it to a stock, why wouldn't he compare it to a good stock like Google, Apple, or Microsoft, who actually make smart decisions with their money? No, he compares it to AMC, the literal meme stock of the world. But he's talking about hey, you don't have to put that faith into the CEO of the company to make the right decision. You just have faith in the asset itself. So it's almost like Michael Saylor isn't the CEO of his own company, MicroStrategy. Because if I were to invest in MicroStrategy, I would be putting full faith into Michael Saylor and full faith into him putting 100% of his assets in Bitcoin. I mean, you can look this stuff up. MicroStrategy is like 100% Bitcoin, no cash. And just hopping over to their balance sheet, we can see that they are vastly in debt. So let's talk about putting blind faith into the CEO of a company, huh? Somebody who's massively in debt and then put all of their current assets into Bitcoin.
Whenever I see anybody criticizing, I say, well, what's your solution to people in Argentina? Right? It's like when you're in New York and Manhattan and you're in a cocktail party and then you're criticizing this. Like, what are you saying to everybody else in Africa or South America or Asia or Venezuela? What is your solution to them? I think that Bitcoin critics, as a general rule, they all fall in this category. They all just criticize something that they don't understand that's new. And I've never seen a critic say, I hate Bitcoin. I think that people in the rest of the world should buy, no one says they should buy Apple stock to save their life savings in Africa to avoid having it be stolen by the local government. Nobody says that. So if you don't give a constructive solution to the problem, then you're just reflexively rejecting a new thing.
Here, I think Michael Saylor actually makes a decent point. Yes, Bitcoin is going to help people that are in impoverished countries be able to interact with each other and exchange assets. Sure, yeah, that's helpful. It'll be good for them. I think it would be a net positive. But he's talking about Bitcoin like it's going to solve world hunger. It's going to solve cancer research. It's going to solve literally the problems that these people have. It's not. Some of these countries need infrastructure. Some of these countries need sanitation. Some of these countries need housing. None of which you can just go out and take your Bitcoin and make it happen. I don't think there's anybody who's going to say that's going to be a solution. And he's right. Some people just criticize things that they don't understand. But I don't think it takes a genius to understand that Bitcoin's not going to solve those problems directly. It's not going to happen.
What I was doing with Bitcoin was I was saying, I don't want to decapitalize the company. I want to keep the capital or grow the capital, but I want to put an asset on the balance sheet. And I think a big breakthrough is I can convert my cash from a liability to an asset. And then we realize that if that asset's going to go up by more than 10% a year, and you can borrow money at 5% or 4 or 3 or 2, then you should pretty much borrow as much money as you can and flip it into the asset. And why wouldn't you?
I couldn't get through this part of the video without making a comment. He's saying borrowing money to put into Bitcoin. That's what you call over leveraging yourself. And I mean, I know he doesn't like panic sell when Bitcoin goes down, but in the catastrophic event that Bitcoin becomes worthless, which I don't think is going to happen. And I'm going to say this right now. I'm not like anti-Bitcoin. I'm a Bitcoin bull. I own Bitcoin. Probably about 10% of my portfolio is in crypto. But I would never, ever consider borrowing money to put into Bitcoin, because in the catastrophic event that it does crash, how are you paying that back? You've borrowed money and to put into an asset that overall is fairly volatile. And what happens if you lose that money? Well, MicroStrategy's out of business, that's for sure. And Michael Saylor ends up on the street.
As people rotate bonds and cash into Bitcoin, price discovery will return to bonds, and that means that you can buy an annuity for a fair price, and that's good for the world. It would be good to be able to buy a bond that had a good annuity stream. I think that price discovery will return to stocks, and you'll be able to buy a stock that pays a decent dividend that's less risky, and that will be good for the world. I think that you'll be able to buy, if we demonetize residential real estate, you'll be able to buy a house at half the price that's twice as good. That'll be good to the world. And so I think that the virtuous cycle is Bitcoin is demonetizing gold. Your jewelry will be twice as good, half as expensive. Is demonetizing real estate. Your house will be twice as big, half as expensive. is demonetizing debt. You will be able to buy an annuity that yields 8% interest with no risk. Is demonetizing equity in ETFs. You'll be able to invest in a company and not pay 50 times revenue and take a risk. You'll be able to invest reasonably. And so Bitcoin fixes everything.
Okay, I don't know how much more of this video I can get through because it's just kind of, it's so cringy. But he goes on, and Bitcoin fixes everything. It fixes governments, it fixes house prices, it fixes stock prices. It demonetizes them. The only demonetization I know is on YouTube, which I don't like. So I don't like when he says demonetize. But anyways, how is Bitcoin a solution to these problems? I don't know. Like, are you seeing my point of this video? Because like, he's just saying that Bitcoin is the solution to everything. And that's what he goes, and then people clap. What does that mean? He just said that buying real estate, you're subject to local law. And then also that stocks aren't going to be as good of an asset hold over the long term as Bitcoin. But then he says, well, it's demonetizing these systems so that you can get them. And if you're seeing my point at all, go ahead and just like the video. It helps me out a lot. And also let me know down below, like, what you think about what Michael Saylor's saying here. Am I off base for like criticizing him like this? Or do you agree with him? Do you agree with me? Like, just let me know what you're thinking about the whole situation.
I think that a crypto is a living creature. We've released life in cyberspace, and Bitcoin you could think of as a plant life or a plankton. It's a base level life. It's not the most complicated creature. It's not. You could think of it, some of the other DeFis, they want to be animals and run around, and Bitcoin wants to be greenery and cover the entire earth. Once you've released the DNA of the Bitcoin, you just have to let it fester everywhere in the world and let it be it.
To end off this video, he's talking about Bitcoin having its own DNA and running around as a microbiology animal in cyberspace. See, this is where I just can't get behind Michael Saylor. He's ridiculous. If you don't think this is ridiculous, I'm sorry. I can't believe you made it this far in the video then. And if you want to see a video about how crazy the crypto market really is, watch this video next.